The question is about contradictions. So when scoring client outcomes, how are you dealing with contradictions obvious to advisors but not customers? For example, lots of debt, but big investment amounts. So helping not just what the investment side, but thinking about contradictions around protection, debt, other things that might be obvious to a human to ask about.
So I think there was a huge piece of work in the design phase around that whole testing piece. We took multiple, I suppose, face-to-face engagements between customers and advisors and effectively tested them against the customer interacting through the platform. But I think the critical answer to that is this isn't robo-advice. This is the same regulated advice. It's simply being delivered through a different forum or through a different channel. So we don't have AI in the background coming up with via a different algorithm coming up with a different recommendation. It is the same regulated advice. It's not robo. It's simply being delivered through a different forum.
So you're covering debt protection, everything. It's not just investment advice.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I think there was a mention in the video there of our overall bank, our financial well-being program, which encapsulates that breadth of the wealth spectrum. It's mirroring and complementing that.
Yeah, great.
But it's not robo. It's absolutely regulated advice. And both our sales quality teams and our conduct risk teams are really happy with it because it has brought a standardization and a uniformity to the advice at the same time.
Yeah, which is really interesting because when Rich Caldecott was here last year, when he was at M&G, now he's at Hargreaves, but when he was talking about an implementation of hybrid advice, that was one of the things he talked about was that sort of unintended benefit that it makes the case checking much faster because of the consistency. And Paul, I'm interested in getting your view on this because we've talked about sort of your business is more of a traditional financial advice business, if that's fair, adopting different innovative technology, and then you've got sort of tech-enabled advice in workplace and omni-channel advice delivered hybrid. And I'm just wondering, I'm curious about your views, whether you see this as all supporting the same customer, if you see your business as fundamentally different from what you've heard Tom and Mark talk about.
I think it's a good question. I'm not sure if someone's had that face-to-face relationship for the last 10, 15, 20 years, they're going to all of a sudden decide to go fully digital with it. But Jack and I were talking about this earlier on. One thing that we can lose focus on a little bit is that some of our best clients now, 15, 20 years ago, were the young accumulators that are struggling now to find advice. So we don't necessarily have that solution in-house. So I think things like this will be maybe not exactly the same clients, but you guys can build them. We'll take them off you later. I'm joking. No. But I think there is such a gap, and a lot of it's regulation, if the FCA is in the room at all. Unfortunately, people have been pushed out of getting advice. The more technology that can get more people in, the better.
To feed your funnel, right? Probably. They'll become your customers once they become wealthy. Anthony Morrow, where are you? Yeah. I knew I saw you over there. Who's your question directed to? Is it Mark?
Well, anyone who wants one.
So, do you want me? So I'll throw you the mic, and that'll be our last question. How's that? Rather than me reading it out. Is that okay?
Yeah, I know a lot of the conversation has been around serving the 90%, so the people who traditionally have been excluded from that. Obviously, when you're providing them advice, what percentage of those customers do you end up advising not to invest? And how do you deal with that? Because I know from our own experience, there's a really high percentage when you look at it holistically who come to thinking they're going to invest, but end up, when looked through the suitability prism, not there for that. And I'm just wondering how your systems manage that.
I can speak really quickly about our world because it's less about that investment piece. It's more about, I'm about to retire, how do I turn that into income? So that, that 90% or the people that come through the system have a vested interest in accessing their funds. It will help them actually then think about the right investment product to be in, it actually takes away the conversation about investment product and actually does it for them. It says, look, in order to achieve this income, we'll do the rest when it comes to an investment. But ours are kind of an interested party that are looking to access their savings at that point.
Great. Any final comments on that, or no? Okay, great. So thank you to our fantastic panel, and see you after the break.